Okay, I'm going to try to go through this quickly. Cooper is in the background waiting to distract me, but sex-linked genes. They're carried on the X or the Y chromosome. We talked about karyotypes at the beginning of the chapter, so here's a karyotype. You'll see the last two chromosomes are the XX or the XY chromosomes that create our sex. The others are all called autosomes. We looked at some disorders that you researched online. So we're just concerning with the X and the Y. Most of our sex-linked genes are on the X chromosome. It is larger. We'll see that on the next slide. Males just have one X chromosome, so the disease or the disorder will show even if it's recessive because there's no possibility of a dominant hiding that recessive allele. Here are the X and Y chromosomes. You can see that the X is a lot larger. We all inherit that. It has genes that we need to develop into a human. The Y is mainly genes that turn a human into a male. So on the X chromosome, the first disorder that we talk about is color blindness. There are 3 genes for vision on the X chromosome, and because of that, the statistics are 1 in 10 males is red-green colorblind, and 1 in 100 females is. So you can see the genotypes here listed. Colorblindness is a recessive disorder. So when you look, the image down at the right, this is a simulation of what they would see. We would see a stoplight that has red, yellow, and green, whereas if you are red-green colorblind, they wouldn't really tell the difference between the red and the green. So they have to memorize where those are. So if you have all those copied, you can see that females have 3 possibilities. They could be normal, they can be a carrier, or they could be colorblind, whereas males are just they either are good or they have it because there's no possibility of being a carrier. Here is just a Punnett square. You can see, remember when you do Punnett squares that the X and that colorblind gene that is on the X stay together when you put it on top of this Punnett square or on the side. Again, it doesn't matter if the mother goes on the top or the side. And this just shows you that the father passes his normal vision gene to his daughters, whereas the mother passes her gene to her sons. Here's a red-green colorblind test. If you look in the center of these circles, it is better on an actual computer screen, but you might be able to see it on a projector. If you look into the left, you should see a number 8 if you have normal vision, and on the right you should see a number 29. You can find a lot of these online, and people do, it is true, if you can't see it, then you are colorblind, a lot of times, at least on a screen. This is a cool website. I just made a couple copies of the images. You can click a picture and it will change it to see what a person with color blindness would see. So there's this sea star and simulation fruit. The fruit isn't as dramatic, but it would affect your life. So other sex-linked genes. One is hemophilia. This is a recessive allele for blood clotting on the X chromosome. You can see in the picture they have created treatments to allow people to live longer. So basically if you get hurt or an internal bleeding, you could die without treatment. But now people with hemophilia would know, and you can see they can live to normal age. They say 76 is a normal male lifespan in this image. Another sex-linked gene is Duchenne muscular dystrophy. This is a progressive weakening and loss of skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle is what actually lets you move around. So, moving your arms and your legs. You can see in this image, according to age, this goes across from left to right. You would begin having walking problems in your adolescent years, and then by teenage years you would have to use a wheelchair because your skeleton would actually start deforming because your muscle couldn't control it. Limited use of arms, ventilator at night, and then ventilation 24 hours, you could die within your 20s, so it's a sad disease. Other topics relating to the X and the Y chromosome are this X chromosome inactivation. Females have two X chromosomes, and that's actually winds up being too much when it starts making proteins as you go through life. So the female body actually turns one of those X chromosomes off randomly. In the left picture, you can see that it's random depending on what cell you divides out. So this, after mitosis happens, you'll have in some cells the purplish X chromosome, in others you'll have this aqua color. That's actually why this calico cat is most likely female. She has orange blocks and black blocks of skin, of fur, I mean, and that's caused by this chromosome inactivation. When one chromosome is turned off, it actually becomes this bar body, which you can see this little blue dot on the side of all the cells. That's the bar body. Other chromosomal disorders, non-disjunction, when you go through meiosis and make your egg and sperm cells, you can have an issue where they don't separate properly. So, as if you were dealing cards, you would just deal one too many into the wrong pile. So, you would have monosomy and trisomy. One of those disorders that is caused by that non-disjunction is Down syndrome. It is trisomy 21. We've heard of it. You can see in the karyotype, they highlight the 321 chromosomes. Others, you have Turner syndrome, where an individual only gets one of the X chromosomes. Because they don't have a Y, it is considered a female. She is considered a female. She is most likely sterile because we need both of the X's to develop our reproductive system. On the other end, you can have Klinefelter syndrome, where that X shows up in this cell. Klinefelter's would be a male because he does have the Y over here, and that will turn him into a male. But also, he probably cannot have kids, so he would be sterile. And that's all we're going to do on this section.